So it's nice to be or giving a lecture in this class. Okay, so and it's nice to see you, even though like not in person. Okay, right. So today we are going to look at okay the field of corpus linguistics. Okay, and also how we can use that in English language learning and teaching. Okay, so I guess the concept of corpus linguistics is probably new to all or most of you. Okay, so first of all, we will talk about what it is. But at the beginning, let me just tell you that it is relevant to this course because it's about the use of technology, okay, to analyze language. Okay. But first, okay, before we look into the definition of corpus linguistics and what it is, okay, I have some discussion question, okay, to ask you. Okay, so you might turn on your microphone to answer, or you can also type the answer in the chat. Okay. So, first question. Okay, which word occurs most frequently in English? Like, which word do you think people use more often than others? Can you guess what it is? I mean, you can please type your answer in the chat, or you can also turn on your microphone, okay, to talk about this. Maybe you can think about like in your everyday life, when you read, when you listen, when you watch some movie, for example. Okay, right. So people, okay. So you start giving the answer. That's great. So you type in the word what? I. Okay. Hi. Yes. Is the word I, the word the word a, the word like, the word it. Okay, go as well. That's great. So there are various kinds of responses. Okay, that's good. We have the word and, but. Okay, interesting. So we both have like function words like article, pronouns, some question word, also some words related to greeting. Okay, right, we have some verbs like go, like. Okay, wow, interesting. Okay, some people mentioned the word the. Okay. Okay, interesting. That's great. Okay. Okay, so people, do you think people hesitate a lot to talk? Okay. Um, okay. Right. Interesting. Okay. Yep. Thank you for that. Okay. And right. That's great. Okay. We will come back to this question later. Okay. Now I have another question for you to think about. Okay. You know the word consequence, right? Consequence. Okay, so what are the collocations of consequence? Like example, like which word can you use to like modify it? Maybe which verbs do we use with consequence, for example? Or maybe like preposition that we use with consequence, for example. Some people okay, provide the answer of, okay. That's a possibility, a consequence of something, right? Okay. Other people, can you maybe give us some more words that you think are used with consequence? Okay, you can think of maybe the verb you can use with the word consequence, or the nouns or adjectives, okay, or preposition. We have one preposition here. What else can we use with consequence? You have the word then. You provide the phrase in, okay, in consequence. Okay. We have the word to as well. Okay. All right. Okay. There are like a number of words that can co-occur with consequence. The consequence. Okay. Yep. we have sometimes we need to use the article with the word consequenced. Okay, yeah, okay. So one thing I noticed here is that I don't see a lot of adjectives, right? We don't see a lot of adjectives, okay? And that is fine, don't worry, okay? Because we will come back to the answer of the collocations of consequence later. But I like the fact that you don't provide a lot of adjectives because that means this will be something new, okay? So you will learn about that at maybe around the end of the class, okay? We will look at the collocation of the word consequence, okay? Right. And but the thing is, okay, we have to, I mean, sometimes we really have to find out the answer to these questions, right? And although we have the answer that we give ourselves, but this is, you know, from our idea, right? But if you really want to find, okay, the you know, a more conclusive answer, right? With strong support, okay? You cannot just rely on your ideas alone, okay? We need some evidence to support our answer, okay? So the question is, well, how can we find the answer to this question? Okay. For example, how can we find out, like, you know, which words are used most frequently in English? Okay, how do we find out, like, you know, what are the collocations of consequence? Do you have some idea about, you know, how we can find the answers to these questions? Apart from, you know, thinking of the answer yourself.
Um, look up on Google or maybe search the net about the word.
Mm-hmm. Okay, looking, basically you need some source of data to find out, okay? So you mentioned look it up in a Google, okay, you can do that. For consequence, maybe you can look it up in a dictionary, okay, that's one way to do that, right? Or another way is maybe we need to collect data, okay? We need to collect data, collect the language data, and then we can find out, okay, which word are used most frequently in English, okay? And for the collocation, okay, we can also look at, I mean, if we collect a large amount of data, then we might find examples of the word consequence, okay? And then we can observe from our data, okay, which word occur near the word consequence, okay? So that's something that corpus linguistics does, okay? What we do is we need to collect the data that would represent the way people use language in everyday life, okay? And we find answers to these questions because, you know, with data, we can provide a well substantiated answer, okay? We have evidence to support our answer. We don't just use our intuition or our ideas alone, okay? So that's the idea of, you know, what corpus linguistics is about. Okay, so basically it's the linguistics that involve the use of a corpus. Okay, a corpus is a collection of naturally occurring language. Okay, so when as a corpus linguist, we need to collect language data. For example, we may collect data from books, okay, from newspaper, from novel. We might need to record people, okay, to collect their language data, and then we put them together to make a very big database of language example, okay? And this kind of data should be naturally occurring, okay? This should not come from elicitation or introspection. So we should not get people to do experiment. Okay, we don't do that. Um, and we do not just ask people, okay, so how do you think you use language? How do you think you use this word? No, we don't do that. Okay, we will record them, interact with other people, having a phone call, or we may get some transcript from TV programs, for example, and then we observe, okay, how people use some words, okay, in those data, okay, before we can uh, analyze the data. Okay. Now, when we collect that kind of data, okay, the purpose is to investigate language. Okay, so a corpus, okay, is different from database. A corpus is different from Google, although the search is kind of similar. Okay, the way you search in a corpus and the way you search in Google is very similar, actually. Like you need to type a search word and then the program will give you the data. But it's different because for Google and other search engine, okay, they have like a vast amount of data, but that is for searching, for information, okay. But for corpus linguistics, we want to compile examples of language use, okay? And the purpose is to investigate language, okay? So we want to know how people use language in everyday life, okay? And therefore, we need to think about how do we collect the data that would reflect, okay, how we use language in everyday life, from reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So we need a systematic design. It needs to be well structured. Okay, it needs to be balanced. Okay, and it should have, language used in many contexts. Okay, in order to make a good corpus. And then we stored them in an electronic format so that the software program can be used to process the data. Okay, so we may download news article from various newspaper, from books, from novels, and things like that. We store them as a file, okay, as a file, and then we can use a software to access the data. Maybe we can type in a search word, and then the corpus will bring examples of those words for you to look at. Now, there are some corpora that have been compiled for us. By the way, corpora here, this word, this is a plural form of the word corpus. Okay, a corpus is a singular noun. Okay, corpora is a plural noun. Okay, so there are corpora that represent general language use. Okay, we have the British National Corpus, okay, the BNC. Okay, we have the Corpus of Contemporary American English, or COCA. So this is a good representative of American English. And in Thai, we also have that. We also have this, the Thai National Corpus. Okay, so you can access this through the linguistic department at Chulalongkorn University website. Okay, if you go to that website, you can find the Thai National Corpus. Okay. But these corpora represent, language in general. But for some other corpora, when it is more focused, it is more focused and more specific. Okay, so for example, there are corpora that represent academic English, like this one, the British Academic Spoken English. This one here is a corpus of academic lectures, seminars, class discussion, okay, in the British context. Mm-hmm. My case, now that's American, is Michigan Corpus of Academic Spoken English. Or sometimes as researchers, we can collect data ourselves and we can make a corpus by ourselves. For me, for example, I did research on WHO Secretary general speech. Okay, so I compile the speeches and make a corpus. Okay, so that's those are example of the corpus. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the British National Corpus because it's a general one and it is widely used because it's free. Okay, it's free and it has many functions. Okay, that can be really useful. Okay, um, it is about 100 million words. Okay, which is a lot. I mean, if you want to know, like, so what is 100 million? Okay, think about this. A novel. Okay, a novel is about 50,000. Huh? Okay, just a normal one, not a thick one, just a normal one would be around 50,000 words. Okay, and this corpus is 100 million words. Okay, so a novel is 50,000, right? So basically, this corpus is like you have 2,000 novels in it. Okay, so that's a lot, like 2,000 novels. Okay, that's really huge. So we can find, the examples of language used here because it's really big. Now, 90% of the British national corpus is written language. And arguably, in our everyday life, we spend a lot of time like reading and writing. So it so the corpus is heavily towards the written language. Okay, and also collecting written language is easier than spoken language because for written language, sometimes you can just copy and paste, right? I mean, that's quite easy, okay? But for spoken language, okay, you have to record people talking, okay? You have to record them, and then you need to transcribe, right? You need to write what they say on a file, okay? So that is more complicated and also more time consuming, okay? I need to transcribe spoken data in my PhD project. I transcribe a video, actually, a video, which is about 5 minutes, okay? And it took me an hour to transcribe just the 5 minutes video, okay? So that's a lot. That's a lot to do. The data is from the 1960 to 1990, so it's a bit old, okay, but it's quite balanced and it's still, well, it's free and it has many functions, okay. 75% is imaginative, informative, and 25% is imaginative. The spoken language consists of 2,000 hours of recording. So that's a lot of work to collect 2,000 hours of recording and transcribe it. It's going to be a really time consuming, a very difficult task. Now, in this 2,000 hours of recording, there, there were 124 speakers from various regions of England because, they want to make sure that it represent, English from various regions. If you study sociolinguistics, you would have learned that, in England, different parts of England, they have their own dialects. Okay, so they may have different words, they have different pronunciation. So it's a good idea to have people from different regions, and also we should have equal number of men and women, and also people from different age group. Furthermore, each word is annotated with part of speech tags. So like in each word, we have a tag which tells what part of speech it is. For example, that would be article, okay? The word cat, that is a noun, okay? The word go, now that's a lexical verb, okay? Yep. And this is the interface, okay, of the British National Corpus, okay. So you can access it in through website, okay, but you have to sign up for it first, okay. So let me just stop sharing here a bit because I want to show you what it looks like, okay, on the website, okay. Okay, so this is what this corpus looks like, the British National Corpus. So this is the interface. So if you want to know about how a word is used, okay, what you need to do, just like Google, type the search term in the box. So let's say you want to know the word responsible. Okay, so maybe like you want to know more about the syntactic structure, maybe the collocation of responsible. You can type in the word here, okay, and then click Start Query. And then it will bring you examples of the word responsible, okay, in the corpus for you to look at. Okay, so these words are, the word responsible in the corpus are retrieved for you to look at, okay? So you can see them here, okay? Furthermore, I mean, right now, I mean, if you want to look at the collocation of responsible, it's probably not that easy to see from this kind of presentation. Okay, what else we can do? We can put the word responsible in the middle of the screen. If you want to know the collocation of responsible, this will be easier to observe. Okay, so when you use the function show quick view or keyword in context, we have what we now call the concordance lines or concordances, where we put the word responsible or search term in the middle of the screen like this. Okay, and by doing this, we can observe the collocation. We can see which word tend to be on the left or on the right of the word responsible. Okay, we can see it more clearly this way. Okay, so that's what we do. Okay, and this is an example of the word responsible, but you can search for many other words that you like. You can then look at the concordance lines to see the collocation and the meaning of the word. Okay, now let me go back to the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, wait. Okay, so that's the example corpus. Okay, but today we will use a different one, but still quite useful, because to use BNC is, well, um, you have to register for it, and the process takes some time, okay, to do. Okay, so that's why I asked you to use the program called Ncom, okay, because it is free. Okay, you can just download it, and then it is ready for use. So what should we need to use for corpus linguistic search? Well, sorry, it's not why. Okay, why should we use corpus linguistics? One thing is the power of software processing. Imagine like if you have 2,000 books in your hand, okay, you have 2,000 books, okay, you want to search for the word responsible in these 2,000 books. I mean, how long would it take you to find each example of responsible in the book? It would take a long time, right? It would be a really long time to do that, okay, to find the word responsible in your really big library of 2,000 books, right? But with the corpus, as you notice, it takes like 5 seconds, maybe even less than 5 seconds, okay, to get the instances of the words you want to know for you to look at, okay? And we can present and manipulate data in many ways. And that will enable us to observe the pattern more easily. Just like, when we first search for the word responsible, right? The software show us some example sentences in the corpus with the word responsible. And then we use the quick view, okay, to put the word responsible in the center, at the center of the screen. And then we can see the pattern more easily. And it can perform some time-consuming tasks for humans as well, okay? For example, okay, this go back to the first question I asked you, right? About which word is used most frequently in English. Okay. To find out the answer, you need to collect the data. You need to count like how many times each word is used in your big data set. This would take maybe a lifetime to do, okay, if you do it by hand. Right. Because like for example, if I ask you, okay, um, how many times does the word off appear on this screen? Okay. Can you tell me how many times does it occur? Mhm. Okay. Like just on this screen here, how many times does the word off, off occur in this on the screen?
Two.
One.
There are two of them, right? Here and here. It takes us a little bit of time, right? Even though it's just one PowerPoint page. Okay, and imagine this. Think about the British National Corpus. It's like you have 2,000 books, right? And if you have to go through 2,000 books, okay, and count how many times the word off is used in those 2,000 books, right? It would take like a really long time to do it. But the good news is that, the Corpus software can do that for you, like really quickly. It takes like I'm sure it's shorter than 5 seconds. Okay. Yeah. And also it can also compute the association between words. Okay. It can compute and, show us whether the word are collocations or not. And they use statistics, okay, to test if the words are collocation or not. And also we see concordance lines. Okay. We've seen that earlier. Okay. So that's the power of corpus analysis software. Okay, and to use it, it's really like Google. Really, you mentioned Google, and it's like Google. Basically, you type the search term in the box, okay, and then you press Start Query. Huh? And like for example, the word responsible. Once you type that, you click on Start Query, like you get this, right? You get this, and it brings you the examples of the word responsible in the corpus for you to see. Okay. And then, as I mentioned, you can also present the data in the form of concordance lines or concordance. Okay. Now, in your handout, you see the word responsible there. That is, so those are the concordance lines of the word responsible. So these are example of how responsible is actually used, okay, in the real data. Okay, and now the word responsible is in the center of the screen, and this should help you to identify the collocation more easily. Okay, so now let me focus on the word responsible a bit. Okay, so in your handout you have the concordance lines for responsible, right? So now I'd like you to analyze these concordance lines a bit. Okay, so what words comes after responsible? What words come before it? Okay, these are the two questions that I like you to look at. Okay, you don't need to look very far, maybe like one or two words after and before responsible, okay, and then see like what words tend to comes after responsible, which word comes before it. Okay. Okay, so the handout is in the line group, so you can check that out. Okay, also if I just okay, I'm going to show you here as well. Okay, but you cannot see everything here because the screen is a little too small for that. Okay, so here, these are the concordance lines. These are like selected concordance lines for the word responsible. So I'd like you to see like which word tend to come after the word responsible, which word tend to be on the right of responsible. Okay, which word tend to be on the left of responsible. Don't look very far. Maybe it's like one or two words before and after responsible. Okay, let me give you a few minutes to do this. All right, and then we will have a discussion. All right. Okay, so have you got the answer? Anyone, would you like to share like your observation about which word tend to occur on the right of responsible and which word tend to occur on the left of responsible? Or should I call you maybe? Okay. If I have to, maybe I just call some of you to share your ideas with the class. Okay. So can I have Nettie? Is that Nettie?
Yeah,
Yes. Okay. So which word tend to be on the right of responsible?
or
The word.
and
Mhm.
do. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Okay. And which word tend to be on the left of responsible?
mm, I'm not sure, but it's like verb to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. That's quite right because you can see a lot of verb to be here, right? We have the word been, the word were, was, are, being, are. Okay. Yep. That was quite right indeed. Thank you. Okay. Right. Maybe I should share like actually I think I can share two screen at once. Or maybe even three. Okay. That might be possible. Okay. Right. Do you see the PowerPoint this time?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. So for the words that occur on the right, okay, we have the word for is the majority, right? In most of the lines, the word for. Then we also have the word through and also medical officers. Okay, sometimes there is a noun after responsible. Now, for the words that occur before responsible, on the left of responsible, we have word to be, like being, were, okay, was, being, okay. Sometimes we have nouns like disciplinary agent, team manager, ministers, gang, right? Um, Yeah. So these are the key pattern, key collocation of responsible. Basically, it tends to have verb to be in front of it, okay, and then it needs to be followed by the preposition for. That's the main pattern of the adjective responsible, okay. So what we see here is that, with the concordance lines, it shows the word in question or the node term, okay? The word that we use as a search term, okay, at the center of the screen. And we can see the context before and after the words, okay? Concordance lines or concordance has another name, okay? We call this keyword in context or quick. Okay, this is another term to call concordances. And the advantage of this kind of presentation is that this can allow us to see the context more easily. Okay, we can look at the context, we can look at the collocation of the words, okay, more easily than just read it like in a normal way. Okay, so when we see concordance lines, we have to adopt a new way of reading. Okay, so normally we read horizontally, right? From left to right. Okay, now when we do concordance lines reading like this, we do a vertical reading, so from top to bottom, from top to bottom. Okay, yep. And in a way, it gives us a new perspective, okay, and new way of looking at language, okay. And people have done this kind of reading. There are so many research on that, and people found, okay, that words do not occur in isolation, okay. They tend to occur in a kind of syntactic pattern or in phrases, okay. So collocation becomes an important aspect, okay? When we want to analyze language, when we want to describe the pattern, we need to talk about collocation, okay? Because collocation is so important to the meaning and the function of the node word, okay? Just think about the word responsible for a moment. Maybe sometime, people know the meaning of the word. I don't know if this, I think it may happen to all of us, right? It happened to all of us. Sometime we see a new word, right? We look it up in a dictionary, we know the meaning, but still we are not sure about how to put it in a sentence. Huh? Has that happened to you? Like you look it up, the meaning, yeah, okay, we know the meaning. Then, okay, how do I put it in a sentence? We are not sure, like, how do I put that in a sentence? Do I need a preposition? Is it a transitive or intransitive verb? Like, do we need an object here? For example, which preposition should I use with it, right? These are the questions, okay, which show that indeed collocation play an important role in the word. And therefore, if we want to know about a word in terms of meaning and its uses, we need to know the collocation of the word. And because of that, people say, yeah, when we talk about language, when we talk about vocabulary and words, we need to have some idea about how to describe it, okay? And there are some key concepts, okay? In corpus linguistics, we use these concepts when we analyze language pattern. So we have the idea of collocation, colligation, semantic preference, and semantic prosody. Okay, let's talk about each of them in a moment. Okay, so the idea that a word doesn't occur in isolation. Okay, our words tend to have another word. Okay, and for collocation, there is a quotation, okay, given by a very famous linguist called Firth, okay, and he said that you shall know a word by the company it keeps. If you want to know the meaning of the word, okay, you need to know its collocation, because collocation can influence the meaning. And actually, words are like people. Okay, words are like people. Okay, we tend to hang out, okay, with people who share some similarities with us, maybe like similar personality, or something that we can connect with them. Okay, and when we hang out with a group of people, we tend to adopt their behavior, right, their language. Okay, we might have some in-group slangs, for example. Okay, and words are like that. Okay, when they co-occur with some other words, okay, then the meaning is influenced by those other words. Okay, so that's why collocation is really important, because it can help us to determine the meaning of the words. Because word meaning alone, right, it is influenced by the linguistic environment surrounding it, okay, or the phrases that it is part of. Okay, so words, yep, they are influenced by the surrounding context, especially the collocation, okay, of that word. Okay. Next, okay, is the idea of collocation. So collocation is basically the grammatical relationship between a word and its surrounding context. Okay, so when we look at the word, okay, we can look at the grammatical feature or the syntactic patterns that tend to occur with the node terms. For example, the word responsible, okay, we've seen that it tends to be followed by a preposition, right? The preposition for, right? Responsible for. And that tends to be a verb to be, right, in front of responsible. So this is colligation. Yeah. So we find that, okay, for the word responsible, this is it's called colligation. Okay. So in front of responsible, we tend to have verb to be, and in some cases we have nouns as well. Okay. Now after responsible, we have a preposition, which tend to be the word for. Okay. Now, apart from that, we can also look at the grammatical functions of the node terms. Okay, so we can look at, for example, does this word use in the present tense or the past tense? Okay, is it used in the singular form or plural form, for example? And this is quite important as well, because when we use a word, we need to know the form for the word. For example, the word ponder. Ponder, like it means considering. Okay, consider something. So ponder rarely occurs in the passive voice. For example, this is one of the grammatical function of the node terms. Another thing we can look at is the position of the node term. Where does it occur in a sentence? Does it occur in the beginning? Does it occur at the end of the sentence or at the end of the paragraph, for example? So that's colligation. Okay. Now for the next activity, it's about colligation as well. Okay, but it's for word. Okay, for verbs. Okay, and tenses. Okay, so here are the question. Okay, I'm going to use another platform for this. But basically these are the question. Like, which verbs tend to be used in the present tense, and which one tend to be used in the past tenses? Okay, now let me stop sharing here, because I will use the platform called Mentimeter. Okay, right. Let me share the screen. Okay. Okay. Yep. So please answer the question. Okay, so which verbs tend to be used in the present tense? Can you type like one answer? You can go to this website, or you can click on the link I just put in our chat box. Okay, so if you click on the link, please type the verb that you think is used most frequently in the present tense. Okay, with what is. Okay, let's wait for more answers. A lot of people with what is there. With what are. Okay, we got some more answer now. We have the word was, with the word eat. I think was is kind of, I mean, it's past tense, right? Let's focus on the verb that you think tend to be used in the present tense. The present tense. Okay, so let's wait for more answers. So please, you can either go to menti.com and then use this code here, or you can you know, click on the link in the chat box. Okay, and then you can type in the answer. Okay, any more words you think used in the present tense? Still waiting for some answers because there are like 20. So there should be like 22 of you, right? So let's wait for some more answer before moving on to the next one. Okay. So you have the word like as well. Okay. You have the word love as well. Interesting. Okay, we have the word do, the word hate. Yeah, the words okay seem to be related to feeling, right? Yeah. A lot of words are related to feeling. Want. The word do as well. Okay, interesting. Okay, right. Now that's very interesting. Okay, so these are the words you think are used in the present tense, right? Okay, now let's, I think we should go to the next one. Okay, this time we are going to the words that are used in the past tense. Now can you can use the same, I think it's the same one, right? Is it? Yeah, it's the same one. Okay, so you can use the same link. Okay, but this time I'd like you to type the verb that you think is used most frequently in the past tense. Like whenever you read, you listen, you tend to see that these are in the past tense. Okay. Okay, we have some answers. Okay, we have some verb to be, verb to do, right? Did, was. We have other lexical verbs like went, saw, okay, gone, or used. Also, we have auxiliary like could and would. Okay, interesting. Also, been. Okay, so it seems that verb to be were the answers from most people. Okay, interesting. Also, we have the word had, right? Had. Okay. Let's wait for a few more answers. Okay. And this is something that, corpus linguistics can do actually, because, for many corpora, like the B and C, for example, as I mentioned, it has part of speech tagging. For part of speech, okay, it also uh, tells us about the tense of the verbs as well, okay? So it can give us really useful information about the tense of the verb. Okay. And think about it. I mean, I think it's important to know which verb, right? Which verb tend to be in the present tense, which verbs tend to be in the past tense, right? Because when we teach English, okay, if we want to give some example of the verbs for the present tense, I think we should think about example of the verb that are used more in the present tense, right? And when we talk about, when we're teaching past tenses, right, we need to give example of the verbs that tend to be used in the past tense, right? So that they can be useful and practical to students. Okay, right. And here we have some more answer. We have the word became, we have thought, decided, we have the word loved, looked. Okay, yep, that's good. We have the word ate as well. Okay, interesting. Well, thank you. Okay, right. So some of you were quite spot on, okay, about the answer to this question. So, but let's take a look at the answers from the corpus, okay. Okay, is it PowerPoint now? Right?
No, it's still the Microsoft Word.
Microsoft Word, okay. Is it PowerPoint now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, right. So let's look at the answers from the corpus, okay? So here, this one is done by Professor Douglas Biber and his team. Okay, they're a team of really famous corpus linguists. And they did a lot of investigation. One of the investigation is on the verbs and the tenses. This is based on the Longman spoken and written English corpus. Okay, it's a 40 million word corpus of conversation, fiction, newspaper, academic prose, planned speech, and general prose. Okay, we find that they also have like part of speech tagging. Okay, and then they find out that verbs associated with the present tense are related to thoughts and emotions, but verbs associated with the past tense are related to actions and speech. Okay, so this is the findings from the study. Okay, so verbs that tend to be in the present tense are these. We have the word bet, doubt, know, matter, mean, mind, reckon, suppose, and think. Okay, for the words in the past tense, we have exclaim, I, glanced, grin, nod, pause, remark, reply, shrug, sigh, smile, and whisper. Okay, so there are some clear differences between them, because for the present tense, you tend to use words related to thought. It tends to express thought and opinion, right? But for past tense, they tend to be related to action or speech. Okay, and when textbook writers, when they write about present tenses, of course they should use a lot of example from the verbs that tend to be used in the present tense, right? So that will be more practical to students. Okay, while when they talk about the past tenses, they should give example with the verbs in the past tenses. Okay, so that will be more practical to students. Okay, so that's the colligation. Next, let's take a look at the idea of semantic preference. So here, when we look at collocation, okay, we can also group them, okay, put them in groups based on the meaning, okay, of the collocation. Okay, and in so doing this can give us an idea of the meaning of the collocation and also of the note as well. Okay, now to do this, okay, I'd like you to read the concordance lines of the word naked eye, okay, and answer me like what are the adjectives and also the verb collocates, okay, on the left of naked eye. Okay, what seem to be the meaning of these collocates? Okay, right. So now I'm gonna end the show here and then move to is Microsoft Word, right? Okay. So here, these are the concordance lines of the word naked eye. Okay. Let's look at the adjectives and the verbs. This time you might need to look a little further from the word naked eye, maybe like 3 to 5 words to the left, okay, of naked eye, and try to see like, so what seem to be the meaning groups of these adjectives and verbs? What are they related to, these adjectives and verbs? Okay, let me give you a few minutes to read this, okay, and then we'll have a discussion about that. Okay. Okay, are you ready to share some ideas? Maybe first we may want to talk about, yeah, so which adjectives and which verbs tend to occur on the left of the naked eye. Okay, So for this question, okay, let me ask someone here. Can I ask Ivy, Ivy? Right, is that your name, right? Ivy.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, so what are the adjectives and verbs that tend to be on the left of the word naked eye?
visible,
Visible. Okay. Yep. Can you give me like one more example? Apart from visible, is there any other words? Because we have visible here as an adjective, right? Can you give me like one more adjective? Is she still, yes?
invisible,
We have invisible as well. Okay, visible, invisible. Okay, thank you. Right. So we have adjectives, right? Okay. Apart from that, we have like obvious, right? We have obvious. We have like what else? Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, visible, obvious. Yep. Evident. Evident. Okay. Right. So what about, let me ask another person for the verb. This time the verb. Can I ask Sarisa ครับ Sarisa Sarisa, can you tell me the verbs that tend to appear on the left?
verb to be,
We have verb to be, anything else? Are there any lexical verbs that tend to be like occur on the left of naked eye? Because
reveal ค่ะ
มี
Reveal.
viewed. Okay. Yep. Right. So we've seen as well, right? Seen, viewed, right? Okay. Thank you. Right. And also you have the word see as well. Okay. Yep. Okay. Thank you. So essentially, I guess you might now see that they are all related to seeing, right? It's all about visibility. Okay, like it's about vision. Okay, so these are the words that can tend to occur on the left, okay, of naked eye. Okay, so from the study by John Sinclair, okay, these are example, okay. So we see that the left collocates of naked eye tend to be related to seeing, okay, or not seeing, like detect, spot, appear, perceive, view, to recognize, read, study, judge, apparent, evident, obvious, undetectable. So basically the meaning group are related to visibility. It's about seeing. Yep. So the word naked eye tend to be used with words related to seeing or not seeing something. Okay. So that's the idea of semantic preference. Okay. Apart from that, we also see that some words, okay, tend to be used in a positive context, but some words tend to be used in a negative context. Okay. And this is the idea captured by this term semantic prosody. Okay, semantic prosody is the attitudinal or evaluative meaning. It's about whether the word is used in a positive or a negative context. Okay. So the meaning conveyed in this context is pragmatic because it's implied. We need to look at the context and then we need to interpret it. Okay, so it's not straightforward. You have to look at the context to determine, okay, the use. Okay, so we need to look at concordance lines, and then you can see whether the word is used in a positive or a negative way. An example is the word cause. Okay, which we will come back later. But also, if you look at the word naked eye, okay, you can see that a number of times, okay, although it tends to be used with words related to visibility, right? Naked eye tend to be used in a context where it is not easy to see. Okay, we can see example like it is not really visible. Like when you say visible, you might see the word related to negation, like not, or here too faint to be seen with the naked eye. Okay, so basically, yeah, it's all about not easy to see. Okay, so we can see that the collocates of the word see with the naked eye, we tend to see small, faint, weak, and difficult. So basically, it tends to be used in a negative context, referring to difficulty. Okay, so whenever you use the word difficult, the word naked eye, it tends to be used in the context where people express difficulty seeing something with the naked eye. Okay, so that's the example from the word naked eye. Now, let's look at the word cause. Okay, in your handout, okay, in the Microsoft Word there, the word cause, okay, in the concordance lines are shown for you. Now, the question is, what are the noun collocates on the right of the word cause? Do they have a positive or negative meaning? Okay, so let's find that out and we'll have a discussion about this. Okay, so here, these are the concordance lines. Okay, you can also look at the lines in your handout. Try to focus more on the nouns on the right, and then think about, okay, is it mainly positive? Is it mainly negative? All right, let me give you a few minutes to do that, and then we will have a discussion about this. Okay, so are you ready to share your ideas with the class? Okay. Okay, can I ask? Okay, some people are joining while the same Zoom account, right? So Folk and Garfield, right? Yes. So can you tell us like what kind of nouns occur on the right of the word cause? And I mean, are they good or are they bad? We don't seem to hear you. Hello, are you there?
I think they turn on the microphone, but the microphone is broken somehow. Yeah.
All right, the microphone is broken. Okay, that's fine. In that case, let's ask someone else to answer. Okay, so can I ask Ying Ying, right? Ying Ying.
Yes.
Yeah. So what kind of nouns occur on the right of the word cause?
Uh, corporate acts, system, um, cancer, civilian casualties, considerable problems, difficulties, embarrassment, havoc on a scale, severe damage to fishermen.
Okay, yep. Right, that's good. Now, are they good or are they bad?
Uh, bad.
They are quite bad, aren't they? Yep, okay, that's right. Thank you. So what we see here is that the word cause tend to be used in a really negative context. Okay. So for example, we see like really negative nouns like cancer, civilian casualties, right? Considerable problems. Okay. In the first three example, we might want to look at the nouns on the left because they are in the passive voice. They're in the passive voice, so the nouns are on the left, okay, in the first three lines, okay. But for the other lines, they are active voiced, okay, so we can look at the nouns on the right. But when we look at on the left of the first three lines, we see economic losses, okay. Vibration is like unclear, okay. Injury, now that's negative, okay. So what we see here is that, you know, the words, right? Some words are used in positive context, some words are used in negative context. In the case of the word cause, okay, it is mostly used in a negative context. Okay, so that's so we can see that we can also group them. Okay, now some of them are related to problems, some of them are about disaster, negative feeling, disease, and other. Okay, so yeah, so when we use some words, we might want to know the semantic prosody of the word. Like the word cause, it has a negative semantic prosody, so we should not use it in a positive context. Like my my intelligence caused me to be rich, for example. Okay, we are unlikely to say that, okay, because costs tend to be used in a negative context. Okay, so that's something we need to keep in mind as well. So and as learners, okay, we also want to look at how the words are used. Is it used in a positive or is it used in a negative context? Mhm. Now let's talk about the tools in corpus linguistics a little bit more, okay? So we mentioned concordance lines, okay? We've seen that already, but apart from that, it also has many others. So it has frequency list, okay, keyword, collocation, and engram as well, okay, apart from concordance lines. Okay. So the frequency list, okay, is basically a list of words uh, that appear in the corpus data and their frequencies. And normally the words on the list are arranged from the highest frequency to the lowest frequency. So you can take a look at some word lists on, I'm not sure if it's on a handout, but you can, let me just check it here. Oh, right. Let me just stop sharing. I think, oh, yep, I removed it because I want to show it on BNC web instead. Sorry. Right, I'm gonna have to stop sharing here because I want to share it on the BNC web instead. Okay. Right. Sorry, change of plan. Abrupt change of plan. Okay. Right. So let me just show you this. Okay, so in the BNC website, it has the BNC corpus, right? And if you want to know, yeah, so what words are in the BNC web? And in so doing, we can find out like which word is used most frequently in English, right? So if we go to the frequency list, and then we can generate a frequency list of the words in the whole BNC. So you can just come to this part of the BNC web, and then you can just click on show list. And it will show you the list of the words that tend to occur most frequently. And the words that are most frequently used in English is the word the. Okay, the as the highest frequency, followed by of, and, to, a, in, that, it. Okay, so these two are just punctuation, but you know the software doesn't know that these are punctuation. Okay, so just put them here. But if we just look at the words, right, we see that the, of, and, to, a, these are the most frequent one. And now I guess we have the answer to our first question. Okay, the word the is the most frequent one. And actually, if you look at the list, you can see that most of the words are function words, because function words, but like, you know, for article, I mean, for almost every noun, okay, almost every noun, you need an article. Okay, that's why they are a lot. They're used a lot. Okay, right. But apart from this, you can also do something else. For example, you feel like, yeah, okay, I see this, okay, okay, but I'm more interested in lexical words. Maybe you want to know the nouns that are used most frequently in English. You can specify, okay, you can click on this, and, yep, and here you select the noun, the nouns, okay. So now the BNC will show you the nouns that are used frequently in English. Okay. Why is it not going? Okay, here it is. So we have the nouns that are used most frequently. We have time, people, way, years, year, work, government, day, man. Okay, so these are the nouns that are used a lot. Okay, in English. Okay. And it has implication for teaching. You know, when we teach some word, especially for beginners, we want to teach the word that are used a lot. Okay, otherwise it won't be very practical. So the corpus linguistics can provide us with information about the words that are used very frequently. Okay, not just function word, but you can just specify like, you know, nouns, verbs, you know, adjectives, and then you can use that to inform material writing. Okay, so the frequency list is really useful. It provides us with information about which word is used very frequently, and also it helps us to see what our corpus is all about. Okay, but it's not quite rigorous. Like, it's, I mean, when you look at any corpus, okay, any corpus, the word the, of, and, to tend to be in the top because they are function words, and function words occur like very frequently in any kinds of text. Okay, so when you look at the frequency list alone, it's kind of boring to look at. Okay, but it's not totally bad. You know, it's a good starting point, but it's not an end in itself. Now, if you compile like your own corpus, sometimes like we want to know what words tend to be, you know, specific, or which word tend to be used a lot more frequently in our own data, then we need to use another tool called keyword. Okay, so what it does is that it compare the frequency list of two corpora, and it use statistics to compare them. And we tend to use two corpora of equal size or a corpus of special language versus a general corpus. For example, in my PhD degree, I compile a corpus of job advertisement, okay? And I compare it to the written section of the British National Corpus. Okay, in that case, I will get the words, okay, that are used a lot more in job advertisement than any kinds of written language. Okay, so that is more helpful. Okay, so when we do that, we get the list of words that are characteristics, okay, of our data. So in so doing, it shows us aboutness of the corpus. It shows us the frequent words and also specific words in the register or the genre. Okay. So it's more rigorous than frequency list, and people have used it a lot when they want to create the word list. Okay. So I'm not sure if you have tried, like, when you were preparing for exam, you might want to look at some vocabulary books, right? I mean, have you done that? Have you tried to like remember, looking at vocabulary list before? Have you done that before? If you have, can you like type in the chat maybe? Like, have you like looked at vocabulary lists to prepare for an exam before? Or never? Never? Some people may not have done it, but for me, and also my friends, and also some student I talk to, they also try to like memorize vocabulary lists because it will be in the exam. So and it's a lot of vocabularies, a lot of vocabulary lists, okay, are created, but they're not based on the corpus. But there are a lot of vocabulary that are based on corpus as well. For vocabulary for nursing, for engineering, for example, people have tried to get the vocabularies for them, and they use corpus linguistics to create a list of vocabulary needed for engineering, for nursing, for science. Okay. The next two is concordance. Okay, so we can talk about it like very briefly because we've seen it already. That concordance basically you just put the search word at the center of the screen, and we can see the context on the left, on the right more easily. Another thing is the collocation. Okay, collocation is basically earlier you've seen concordance lines, right? And then we look at collocation from the concordance lines. Okay, but apart from that, you can use the software to calculate the association between the node term and the collocates. So it will use statistics to find whether the node and another word has a strong relationship with each other or not. Like, do they tend to appear together or not? And if you want to do this, you need to set the span. You need to set how far do you want the software to check in the corpus for you. Okay, tend to be like 4 words on the left or 4 words on the right. Okay, so let me just show you how to do that. Okay, in the BNC. Okay. Well, okay, so let's do consequence. So we can search for it, and then we can use the software to create the list of collocation. So after this, then you can get the list of collocation of the word consequence. Now the software looked 3 words on the left and 3 words on the right of the word consequence in the corpus, and then they see like which word tend to occur with it, and whether it occurs significantly more than expected, okay, for normal distribution. So like this word occur with consequence like more than what would be expected for a normal normal way, okay. So here we see the word like of, a, as, okay, something like this, okay. But normally, you know, people tend to look like 4 to the left, 4 to the right, okay. So we can make changes here. We can make it bigger, okay, or smaller. Like we can expand to 4 to the left and, oops, sorry, 4 to the right, and then we can just click on it and then we get a new result. Yeah, so that's how we do it with the B and C. Okay, and now I have an activity for you to do. Well, actually, I don't think we have time for the activity because we might need to take a break soon. Okay, that's fine. In that case, let us take a look at the collocation list, okay, of the word consequence, okay, that we mentioned. Okay, so we mentioned that at the beginning, right? About, yeah, collocation of consequence, what they are and how you find it. So here, this is the answer. You can search in a corpus and then you can find out the list of collocates for the words that you want to know, okay? So here we have the word of, the, as, a, serious, inevitable, disastrous, unintended, is, blah, 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 okay? So these are the consequences. And apart from function words, you also have some adjectives like serious, inevitable, disastrous, unintended, dire, adverse, right? So you have many kinds of collocation here, and we can group these collocation into the grammatical words. These are the grammatical words that tend to occur with consequence, and we have the group of collocation with negative meaning like serious, inevitable, unintended, dire, adverse, or damaging. We have aspect of or area of the consequence like social, you know, social consequence, economic consequence. We have the words related to degree like far-reaching consequence. Okay, and we have the word actions, which is also the collocation of consequence. So, yep, okay. Let me just go through lexical bundle and then we have a break, okay? So the last two is called lexical bundle, clusters or engram, okay? So these are strings of words that occur right next to each other, okay? It can be 2, 3, 4, or 5 words or more, okay? So examples of lexical bundles are, I don't know if, what do you think, the end of the, and if you want to. So here you need the corpus to find a string of words that occur right next to each other repeatedly in a corpus for you to see, okay? And these are from a paper written by Professor Douglas Weber in 2004. So to do that, we need to ask the software, okay, to look for lexical bundle. First, you need to set the length of lexical bundle. It can be 3, 4, 5, 6 word, okay? You need to also specify, okay, how many times should it occur in a corpus. The normal or the common criteria is that it should occur at least
Do you still hear Ajahn Bas? All right. I think he froze. ใช่ไหมครับคือเมื่อกี้ของอาจารย์บาสเขาค้างไปใช่ไหมอาจารย์บาสก็มีค้างไปเดี๋ยวรออาจารย์แกกลับมาแป๊บหนึ่ง All right. So, I think Parami had some problem with the electricity. Right. So he will be back soon. So I think it's better for us to have a short break, so we can take a 10 minutes break. So now it's 10 to 3. So let's say we have a break until 3 o'clock, and then we will resume the lecture.